welcome to a new video. I was thinking about what I could do for tonight's video, and I started thinking about some of the people who have been in touch with me since I started doing these videos. And one of the things that people keep saying to me is that these videos has encouraged them to start studying their Bibles again, or perhaps looking more deeply into the Bible. A few people have even said they write down the Bible verses I use during any given video and then they look them up afterwards so that they can check what I'm saying and also so that they can go deeper into that topic. For that reason, I'm going to be including all the Bible verses I use in any given video in the description below. So if you want to see the Bible verses I've used for this video, or you want to see the Bible verses I use in future videos, check the description below and there will be a list of every Bible verse I have referenced, or any Bible story or chapter I have looked at. So for this reason, I'm going to be looking at how I study the Bible, because for all these videos there comes a great deal of study to prepare to actually record some of these videos. For example, when we did the one on the Trinity, that took a lot of studying and looking at the book of Daniel, for example, for Daniel 7, it took a lot of studying to try and grasp how others view the topic of the Trinity and how they go about explaining it. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of study and biblical reflection, and that's how I get to a point to where I can go in front of a camera and then explain the Trinity in the best way I can. For those who know me, they know I'm a big lover of the Bible. I like to learn it in such a way that when I'm then in normal conversations, I can then repeat that information out. I can remember Bible verses, I can remember parts of chapters, I can remember structures of the books of the Bible in such a way that if I'm asked a question, then I can speak it out. And the way I'm able to do that is by studying my Bible. It stands to reason. The more I study, the more confident I am in sharing with people what I've studied. It'd be the same with any subject, I suppose, or with any book that you spent a huge amount of time looking at. If you want to get to a point where you too are quite confident in sharing your biblical knowledge, then that means you need to devote time to reading your Bible. And that means more than just sitting down with it and reading huge chunks at a time. That means studying it in such a way where you can look at the context of when something was written, you can try and figure out its true meaning, and you can try and answer some of the questions that arise in your mind as you're reading through. So the way I study is naturally a way that really helps cement this kind of information in my mind. The way I study is a way that really helps me to ingrain that information into such a way that I can understand it, I can process it, and in a way that I can speak it out to others. I'm also going to be looking at some of the stuff I use during my study and some of the items that have really helped me to study the Bible, just in case those are things that might help you as well. Before I start though, I want to give a bit of a disclaimer to this thing. Firstly, the setup I use to study the Bible and the things I do on a regular basis to study the Bible is what works for me. It might not be what works for you, but it certainly is what works for me. I also want to get across the idea that I don't believe in faith by works. I don't believe that the more work you do, the better a Christian you are. I believe in faith by grace. I believe it's by God's grace that we have a relationship with Him. It's not down to the amount of work you do. So please don't construe this video as me saying, I do all this, you should do all this and more because that's how we get close to God. No, it's all about the personal relationship between us and God, which is more than anything else established in the prayer life. I also want to say that some people will look at what I do to study the Bible and might say it's a bit excessive. And yeah, I suppose it is. I study in a very excessive way. I have numerous things I use that I don't need to use. I just use them because it helps me. You don't need to buy all these things. You don't need to get all these things to study it. You can study the Bible very simply just by looking at the Bible. But these are just things that I use. I work for the church. I'm going to hopefully be training to be a minister in the Methodist Church. All of this means I take my study very, very seriously because I know it'll affect every aspect of my life. I know it'll affect me personally as it will affect everyone, but I also know it's going to affect my work life. When I'm preaching, when I'm doing outreach, when I'm doing any of these things, it's very beneficial for me to have as much knowledge on the Bible as I possibly can. In fact, I think it's very helpful for everyone to have as much knowledge on the Bible and on God as they possibly can. This is what I do and it helps me learn and retain the information I'm learning about. But you can learn the Bible in a very cheap way. There's the YouVersion Bible app, which is an excellent app. Helps you get two translations up next to each other. There's studies on there that help you delve deeper into books. There's this wonderful thing called Google that we all have now, which means if there is a passage you're struggling with, you can Google it. If you have a question about Christianity, you can Google it. If you have a question about a tough aspect of theology, you can go on YouTube and research it and find much more educated people than me explaining such things. We live in an age where it's exceptionally easy to learn more. For example, there's someone like Tom Wright. So Tom Wright, I've mentioned in a previous video, he's a New Testament scholar and incredibly intelligent. But we're not living in a time where the only way you can learn from someone like that is to go and enroll at the college that he's speaking at, but rather you can go on YouTube and see a whole host of sermons that he's done. You can take an online course that he has designed. You can read one of his many books. You can download his books as an ebook. You could even go to a podcast called Ask NT Write Anything, where you can send in your questions and he will answer them for you, which I have once done. I asked him a question about the Bible and he answered it. We're in an age where it's exceptionally easy to study the Bible and find loads of opinions and theories out there. So if you're looking at everything I use in this video, don't think that means you should go out and get all this stuff and try and replicate it. If you think this is something that will work for you, by all means, take it on. But also be aware, you can study the Bible in a very effective way with a mobile phone. So typically when I start my study, I do it at the start of the day. When we wake up, our brains are at their most active. They're ready to start the day. They're ready for the day ahead. They're ready to get going. So that's the time I like to study the Bible. I like to wake up and I like to begin my study. So I start my morning every morning at 6:45 a.m. I get in my dressing gown, I go downstairs, I get a smoothie out of the fridge because that's just a nice bit of food and sugar, and I also pour myself a nice coffee. This way both the sugar from the smoothie and the coffee help wake me up for the morning. I then go and I find a place where it's just me, where I can study and I can reflect in peace without disturbing my wife, which for me happens to be the spare room of our house, which also doubles as a bit of an office space for me as well. Once I have all that set up, I sit down and it's time to start my daily study. Now, if you're sat there going, well, I'm just not really a morning person, then don't worry, neither am I really. I just kind of force myself to be. And one of the ways I combat this is I realize that for the first 15 minutes of being awake, my eyes are barely going to really open, I'm going to be groggy, I'm going to be tired, and the last thing I'm going to really be able to do is open a book and really focus on the words. Because of this, I like to watch something on my computer for 10 to 15 minutes. Seeing the screen forces me to feel like I need to wake up. I feel so much more awake after it, and my body's now at a point of realizing it's not going back to bed. This isn't just a random midnight trip to the toilet. I've had a bit of my smoothie, a bit of my coffee, and I'm really starting to come round. So by the time I actually get to do my study, I feel pretty awake. What I'm currently doing for that first 15 minutes of study when I sit down is I'm watching a stream that happens on Facebook and on YouTube. It's a channel called Strange Times. You can find it too, and it's done by my minister and her husband. They do a kind of 15-20 minute devotional to start the day where they discuss the verse of the day that the YouVersion Bible app has chosen. They discuss it, they engage with the community of people who are watching it, and then they end with a worship song. So I actually really enjoy doing that. I enjoy feeling part of that community, even in a time like this where we can't really join a community like that in a face-to-face contact. I really quite enjoy that. So that's how I do my first 15 minutes. If you want to watch them as well, it's every day apart from Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m. So on an average day of study, these are the items that I will use. I've got my ESV study Bible. I've got my New Living Translation Guy's Life Bible, which was actually bought for me when I first started to look at the Christian faith. It was bought by my godparents. In fact, I'm pretty sure on the opening parts of the Bible it still has the fact that it was bought for me, and there's a little Bible verse there as well that they wrote for me with a very kind message. So I still have that from 2011, and I also have my English Standard Version ESV journaling Bible. In addition to all of that, I also have my kind of notebooks. I've got this notebook which acts as my prayer journal. I use a notebook that was given to me at the Aldersgate 2020 conference. I use a little thin notebook that I got at a Christian bookstore cheap. I use that for rough notes. and I use this notebook as my devotional notebook. So those are all the materials I will use on any given morning or any given day, really, for my study. Now, the reason I have so many Bibles is because each of them fulfills a different use. And realistically, for any study, the Bible is going to be the cornerstone of your study. You can't do a Bible study without a Bible, be that with your phone or with an actual paper copy. So I have my ESV study Bible because it has a commentary in it that offers insight into every single verse. If I open it up now, you can see that at any given point, you've got the top half, you've got what's actually being written in the Bible, and then as you get to the bottom of the page, it breaks down verse by verse what is being said and gives you another aspect. It'll talk about what the original language says, both in Greek or in Hebrew, depending on what you're reading. It'll give you some maps. It'll talk about when the book is dated, the theme, the purpose, the background, and it's really, really helpful for figuring out parts of the Bible. And so if I'm doing my daily devotional and I want to know more about a verse or a book or something doesn't seem to make sense, I'll turn to my ESV study Bible. I have my New Living Translation Bible. Now, I've included this because this is part study, but I won't usually use this in a morning. So as I've said on a previous video, I like to study the Bible and I also like to read the Bible. Now, when I'm reading the Bible, I prefer to use something like the New Living Translation. I find it much easier to read. It reads a bit more like a story than as something that's been translated from a language that wasn't English. And yeah, I just find the NLT to be really, really easy to read from. So I'll read about 10 chapters or so at a time. I'll work my way through books. I tend to read it with my wife, and so that's what that Bible's for. I've then got the ESV Journaling Bible, and this is because while I'm studying the Bible, I also like to make notes as I'm going along. Yes, that's right. And now I know there are a lot of people watching this who will go, wait a minute, Blayze, you told me that you didn't believe in writing in your Bible. And up until recently, that was quite true. Since entering lockdown, I've been researching a lot about famous Christians throughout history and how they used to study their Bible. And a common theme throughout them all, with people like Billy Graham and John Wesley and Jonathan Edwards, was that they did in fact write in their Bibles. And it's hard for me to deny the fruit that those people had in their own ministries and the knowledge they went on with. So because of that, I've kind of come to the conclusion that yes, okay, it's okay to write in my Bible. I'm glad I went through a time of not writing in my Bible, though, as that's really helped give me a reverence for the Word of God. I don't write things in my Bible lightly. I don't scribble in it or doodle in it because I do see it as the Word of God. So when I am writing something in it, I'm doing it with respect, I'm doing it carefully, I'm doing it neatly, and I'm only putting in things in there that will enhance my reading of that scriptures. So things that I know will help me as I'm reading through it, rather than just any random thought that comes to mind. So now that I've cleared up that point, we can get back to the video. Part of the bonus of having a journal Bible is that you don't need to write over the words. You don't need to try and write in these tiny, tiny margins. For example, if I wanted to write in the side of my New Living Translation, there's not much room there to really write anything. You're going to really struggle to get your notes in there. Whereas in this Bible, there's plenty of room at the sides for you to get your notes in. So there are notes in there already, things I've done that would help me. I'll go into more detail about what I would write in this Bible as notes, but that's why I have that Bible. Then we move on to the notebooks. So, as I said, this is my rough journal kind of thing. So I'll write things in this. It'll be very untidy. It'll be written very quickly. This is just a little brief notes thing. So I don't worry about how something looks when it goes in here. I don't care if it's neat. I don't care if it's structured. I just write down things that are of interest to me, and they go in there. When they've been written, when I've decided I've got everything I need written down in this rough part, that's when it goes into this notebook. This is my miscellaneous notebook. So the miscellaneous notebook is where all my decent notes go. So you'll see if I get to where my notes are in here, they're far more structured, they're far more set out, and that's because I've already made the rough notes in this one, and now I'm transferring them in a far more structured and organized way in here. And because this book is meant to be far more structured with your notes, I've also, as soon as I got this journal, I wrote out a contents page. So I made a contents page and numbered how many of the pages there were and worked out how many pages I would use for a content. And now I have the content. So if I know I'm going to look up Habakkuk, and that's when I did the study for that video, or qualifications for leadership, or the Trinity, I can open this notebook up and I can go to that section. You'll notice it'll say M001, 2, 3, 4, or 5. This is due to something I've been researching about recently. There was a great man of God called Jonathan Edwards. Jonathan Edwards was he was one of the reasons why I started writing in my Bible again. So Jonathan Edwards used to stick pages in between the pages of his Bible. So if there was a page there, he would then stick a blank bit of paper there in every bit. And that's so that he could write in his Bible constantly with notes. And one of the things he would do is he would also keep plenty of journals, much like this one, and he would call them his miscellaneous journals. And what he would do is whenever he was going to study a given topic, he would write down M001, which would stand for miscellaneous 1, and he created what I think something like over 100 notebooks of miscellaneous topics. And when he went to actually do a miscellaneous topic, he would then transfer that to his Bible. So when I mentioned about how in my ESV single column Bible, there's not a lot of room in the margins to write huge notes, that's because I do that in here. So if I go to Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 3, so as soon as I get to Habakkuk, I can see that I've written there M001. And so if I ever come to read this book again, say in 10 years' time or so, and I open it up to read Habakkuk, I'll immediately know that I have a miscellaneous file on this book. So I would put this down, I would go to my notebook, and I'd look up miscellaneous 1, that's on page 1, and I would go to page 1, and there I would have my notes on Habakkuk. As you see, I've got some basic outlines here, and then a breakdown of the entire book. So that saves me writing all that stuff in the margins of my journaling Bible. That means that realistically, the stuff that actually gets written in the side columns of these Bibles are more things that I think are actually going to benefit me as I read. For example, I think this was yesterday, actually, I was studying the section of Matthew that talks about the faith of a Canaanite woman, which is very interesting because Jesus calls a lady a dog who's asking for Jesus to heal her daughter. Now, when looking at the Greek, I could see that that word is actually more of an affectionate term. It means little dog. Now, that is going to change the way I read that text. So I've written that in there because I know that'll affect the way I read it as I go through it. However, I've not written a huge amount more because I know I can look up miscellaneous 6 and I will find the rest of my notes on that. But the rest of my notes on that, although maybe very interesting and very helpful for me to read, will not immediately change how I interpret that passage if I don't have time to study it. If I'm just reading my Bible naturally, that little bit there will desperately help me to interpret the rest of that. So that way you can keep your Bible neat, you don't need to be drawing and doodling all over it, and that way you can start collecting journals like this. As you can see, this is a recent thing I'm doing. I've very recently come across to writing in my Bible again, and I've recently come across this idea of my miscellaneous files, but it's been really helpful recently, and it's very much helped me to memorize bits of scripture and knowledge about scripture. And it's been very helpful to have a rough journal thing like this as well, because I like to keep my Bibles neat, I like to keep my journals neat. So having something where I don't mind it getting messy because I know it's going to be transferred to a book like this is very comforting to me. And when I fill this book up, it's just going to be thrown away. It's all rough notes. Whereas when this gets full up, I'll keep it on my bookshelf and I'll get another journal to carry on my miscellaneous file. So the idea is that when I finish this book, I'll write miscellaneous 001 to miscellaneous, 150. And then the next book I get will say miscellaneous 151 all the way up to 300 or something like that. So Jonathan Edwards, who studied the Bible this way, he ended up with hundreds of journals that you can actually buy to read to this day. And it's what helped him become such an amazing man of God. Once I've done all that kind of study, that's when I come to this. Now, I'm not going to open this up for you to look inside because this is my prayer journal. So it's something I've taken up since the start of this year, I think. And that's where I will write down my prayers as if they were a letter to God. This has been very helpful to me because it means now I can look over this book and look at my prayers from the last few months and I can see how God has been working in my life. I've found this very beneficial because it means I can look over past prayers in my life and I can think, wow, God really answered that prayer. I might not have noticed that had I not written it down. I may have just forgotten. I also write, I won't show you this again, but at the back of the book, I write in just, names of people I want to be praying for. And every now and then I'll turn to the back of the book as well and I'll think, oh, how is that person getting on? And it's a really nice way to encourage me to pray. It helps me to think through what I am praying and to try and be attentive to God as I'm writing it. And it also helps me to reflect on my prayers to see where God has answered my prayers, or perhaps what he's been telling me through my prayer life. So although all this seems really quite extravagant, with a study Bible, a commentary Bible, a reading Bible, a scrap notebook, a prayer journal, a miscellaneous notebook, these are all just ways that really help me to study the Bible. And as I said, you don't need all this stuff. Realistically, you just need a Bible that you're going to read, and you can study it that way. Even better yet, you could get a Bible and then just a notebook and make notes. You don't need all of this stuff. It's just by doing all this stuff, I'm reading the Bible as a story, so I'm not just getting bogged down one chapter at a time. I'm reading it as an overarching story. I'm studying it chapters at a time. I'm finding out what those chapters mean and the context behind them. And by the time I've written out all that information twice over and made sure it's all neat and perfect for my miscellaneous journal, by the time I've done all that, the knowledge is really kind of cemented in my head. I remember it very easily from that point onwards because I've spent so much time reading about it, studying about it, and writing it down. This means that when I come away from my study, I feel like I've really remembered all that I've written and all that I've been studying. And for me, that's really, really helpful. So hopefully that's helped you to get a few ideas for how you might want to study the Bible, or perhaps you've watched it and gone, actually, that really wouldn't work for me. I don't know, but that's how I've been studying, especially since the start of lockdown. And, my study habits are something that have changed over time. Before lockdown, I was getting up earlier than 6:45 because I wanted to ensure I had time to do my study and then start my day, which meant I had to get up earlier. My ways I read might change, how much I read at a time might change. It's a fluid thing that works for me. Feel free to comment below on how you study the Bible, the ways that you feel are very helpful to help you maintain the information and really learn more about it. It'd be great to hear about those things. And if you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments below, give it a like, and I can try and do more like this. But that's the video for today, and I really hope it's helped, and I really hope you enjoyed it.